Imagine this, 1960s Manchester. It's all gray skies, industrial gloom. And right there, in the middle of it all, something truly evil is starting to grow. But the scary part? Nobody sees it. It's walking the same streets, working in the same factories, hiding behind the most ordinary faces you can imagine. We're about to dive into that story, the story of that evil and the desolate, lonely landscape that, in a way, became its partner in crime.
And really, that's what this is all about. This isn't one of those stories where someone just snaps, you know? It's not a sudden thing. It's more like a slow rot, a gradual slide into becoming a monster. It's about a dark partnership, two people feeding off each other, building this shared obsession with death, all while the world had no idea.
So let's talk about that creeping rot. A big part of it, believe it or not, is the place itself. The setting is practically a character in the story. You've got two very different but equally grim backdrops. First, there's Manchester, all industrial haze, brick, and smoke. And then, you've got Saddleworth Moor. It's this vast, windswept, totally desolate place. It has this kind of stark, lonely beauty to it, but it's a beauty that would soon hide some of the darkest secrets imaginable.
So, it's in this bleak setting that our two main figures, well, their paths cross. Their story starts somewhere totally mundane, a place you'd never expect, a chemical plant, back in 1961. This is where two people meet, two people whose names would eventually become infamous, a shorthand for pure terror. We're talking about Brady and Myra Hindley.
Now you have to understand, their meeting, it wasn't a love story, not even close. It was more like a dark indoctrination. On one side you have Brady. He's this brooding nihilist, reads all the dark stuff, and genuinely believes he's a superior being, a predator living among sheep. And then there's Myra Hindley. She's a typist with a really tough background. And in her, Brady doesn't see a partner, he sees a project. He sees this kind of dormant violence, this cruelty just under the surface, and thinks, I can shape that. And he does. He completely remakes her, gets her to bleach her hair to fit his twisted ideals, fills her head with his philosophies of power. She goes from being a typist to his willing and absolutely essential disciple.
So what do they do together? Their nights weren't spent on dates. No, they were spent studying. They're poring over books about Nazi atrocities and meticulously, obsessively, planning what they called the perfect crime. They basically talked themselves into believing that morality, that's for weak people, for sheep. And they were the predators who were meant to break out of that cage. But, just talking about it, just planning, it wasn't enough anymore. A real hunger for violence had set in.
And so, that dark fantasy starts to become reality. This is the beginning of the Moors murders. They came up with a plan that was, well, it was chilling in its simplicity, but brutally effective. And the key to the whole thing? They weaponized Myra's appearance. They turned her into the perfect bait.
Okay, so here's how their twisted little system worked. It all started with the lure. Myra would be driving, she'd pull over, maybe pretend she'd lost a glove or needed help with something. I mean, think about it. Who's going to suspect a woman asking for a little help? It's the perfect disguise. While that was happening, the trap was ready to spring. Brady would be following, just behind, on his motorcycle. Their first victim, a 16-year-old named Pauline Reed, knew Myra. She trusted her. She got into the van, and that was it. The final step was the grave. They drove her out to the moors, and she was never seen again. The first secret buried under that cold, unforgiving earth.
That first kill, for them, it was a success. It was intoxicating. And after that, things just escalated with this horrifying speed. Only 4 months after Pauline, they took John Kilbride. He was just 12. Then another 12-year-old, Keith Bennett. And then Leslie Ann Downey, who was only 10. You can just see it. With every single life they took, their confidence just ballooned. And so did their depravity.
And this is a major turning point. You see, just getting away with the perfect crime wasn't cutting it for them anymore. They started to crave something more. They wanted the terror. They got off on the power they felt when they prolonged someone's suffering. And that twisted desire led them to commit what is, without a doubt, their most infamous and horrifying act.
Okay, so it's December 1964. They abduct Leslie Ann Downey. She's 10 years old. But this time, they don't go straight to the moors. No, they take her to their house. And what happened there? It's just an unimaginable nightmare. And the worst part? They recorded it. They made a tape. The sound of this terrified little girl pleading for her mom with Christmas music playing in the background. That tape, That tape would become the single most haunting, damning piece of evidence, proving just how inhuman they'd become.
After that, they must have felt like gods, totally invincible, completely untouchable. But you know what they say about arrogance, right? It was their fatal flaw. It led them to do something incredibly stupid. They started to crave a witness. They didn't want to keep their work a secret anymore. They wanted an audience, someone who could see what they were doing and, appreciate their twisted version of greatness.
So Ian Brady gets this idea in his head. I need an apprentice. And he knows just the guy. Myra's brother-in-law, David Smith. He's 17, a bit of a petty criminal, and Brady looks at him and thinks, perfect, here's someone I can mold, someone who will finally appreciate my genius.
So the date is October 6, 1965. Brady decides it's showtime. Time for a demonstration for his new apprentice. He lures another teenager, Edward Evans, who's also 17, back to their house. And then he calls David Smith over, telling him to come to the living room. It was time for Smith to witness what his master was really capable of.
And what David Smith saw when he walked in, it was pure hell on earth. It was Brady standing over Edward Evans, hitting him again and again with an axe. This wasn't their so-called perfect crime. There was nothing clean or meticulous about it. It was raw, it was chaotic, it was unbelievably brutal. The sounds, the struggle, in that moment, whatever spell Brady had over David Smith, it just shattered, instantly.
Smith was terrified. He was sure he was next. So he played along. He helped them move the body. But the absolute second he was out of that house, he ran. He just ran for his life. He gets home, his mind is just completely reeling, and he tells his wife everything he just saw. His conclusion? It was simple, it was final. They are monsters. At 6 o'clock the next morning, he finds a payphone and makes the call that would finally bring their reign of terror to an end. That call from David Smith, it set everything in motion. The police raid the house, and the whole thing starts to unravel. Now, the police, they were expecting a crime scene, obviously, but there's no way they could have been prepared for what they were about to find. The secrets hidden not just in that house, but out on the moors. Finding the body of Edward Evans, that was only the very beginning.
I mean, the house was like a treasure trove of their own evil. The police found Brady's library of dark books. They found that horrific tape, the one of Leslie Ann Downey. And then they found the key to everything, a simple luggage claim ticket. So they follow it, it leads them to a suitcase, and inside, photographs. Dozens of them. Just Myra Hindley, posing out on Saddleworth Moor. And the police realized pretty damn quick, these weren't vacation photos. These were markers for graves.
So, with these photos as their map, the investigators swarmed Saddleworth Moor. And just like that, one by one, the Moors started to give up their dead. They found the shallow graves. The so-called perfect crime, it was completely undone. Not by brilliant detective work, but by the killer's own staggering arrogance and their obsessive need to keep souvenirs of their evil.
But even with all those discoveries, the Moors still hold one last heartbreaking secret. After all this time, after all the searches, the body of 12-year-old Keith Bennett has never been found. His grave is still out there somewhere. It's this painful open wound in the story, a final silent act of cruelty from two killers who took that one last secret with them to the grave.
And so you see, even though the killers are long gone, this story isn't really over. That landscape they poisoned, it's still there. It's a memorial now to the young lives they stole. And it leaves us all with this one haunting question. It's a chilling thought that some mysteries, some secrets, might just stay buried forever, whispered only by the wind that blows across the moors.